Cool. Okay. Let me broadcast now, and we're live. So welcome to all the Finimizers joining. I'm just going to share my screen quickly. So let me know in the chat if you can see this. So it's not just me here viewing the nice slide we have. Here we go. All right. So I'm Max. I head up community here at Finimizers, and I'm back today doing what I love to do the most. So welcome to today's event. We're going to be talking about crypto and regulation. We're lucky to have with us Cabital's co-founder and CEO, Raymond Hsu, and this will be in partnership with Cabital today. So I'm going to quickly run you through some housekeeping rules, and then we're going to get going. So make sure, whilst I'm chatting, introduce yourself into the chat, tell us where you're tuning in from and what you're doing right now. But make sure you switch that to all panelists and attendees, because otherwise it's just me and Raymond that's going to see who we've got here today. Now, as always, Finimize is bite-sized, so this is just a 15-minute conversation followed by a 15-minute Q&A with you guys. So remember, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Now, what I would love to see as we go through the discussion is you asking any questions that come up. That makes sure that we cover what is top of mind for you. But also, if you don't have a question, make sure that you're upvoting other people's questions, because when we come to the end of the session in about 15, 20 minutes time, I'm going to be running Raymond through the most upvoted questions. So be active in the Q&A box, say hey to each other in the chat. Now, I'm super excited to be discussing this topic today. Crypto has dominated the community for the last, I would say, couple of months now. And more and more, the conversation becomes about how we are going to take crypto into the mainstream. Is it ever going to become part of our portfolio, just like stocks and everything else? Before we do that, let me tell you about Cabital. So Raymond and his team formed Cabital because they believed in democratizing crypto, and everyone should be able to participate. And Cabital allows you to buy, sell, and earn on their platform. They're a crypto wealth manager that successfully has achieved up to 12% APY on cryptocurrencies without a native token through highly strategic investments that are safe, secure, and always compliant. That's great to hear, Raymond. I can't wait to find out a little bit more. They're also very kindly giving away to Finimizers an exclusive introductory offer. So I'm going to be dropping the link throughout this session for you to access that. Now, we're ready to get going, Finimizers. Raymond, it's great to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Hello, Max. Thanks for inviting me to join this conversation and share my view with the community.
Anytime. Yeah, it's great to get you in front of our amazing global community. But I'm going to start with some questions. So like I said, crypto has been dominating the headlines and it's certainly captured the minds of our community. Now, the topic of discussion today is all about regulation. And we were just catching up before about, can this be seen as a negative thing or can it be seen as a positive thing? So let's just start with, when we say regulation in crypto, how can crypto be regulated? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I think there are two parts, right? One is right now, I think you can have access to the crypto via centralized or decentralized platforms. So I think the first thing we are seeing right now is that government starts to regulating the industry by having rules around the crypto, centralized exchange, right? So I think that has become like a hot topic since the beginning of this year. You can see, European or US, they start talking about, hey, some platform you are not doing things right. They just announced like the warning to the users, or you direct some of them directly to the platform. So the next step is that they definitely want to regulate it, right? So I think like in Europe, I think European Banking Authority, Commission, or central banks, they all play an important role developing these new rules together. And I'm in Lithuania right now, visiting and doing business trip. And when we talk to different agencies, they also share the same thing, right? That the government is talking internally, discussing with different stakeholders, and also having conversation with the European Central Bank just to have a debate. What's the best way to have a very consistent framework across Europe, like they do on the payment service provider as well on the crypto business. So I think that's for sure. And I think the most important angle definitely is from the compliance perspective, right? They want to make sure this is not a vehicle for money laundering. So I think it goes back to something very fundamental. They can definitely require the centralized platform exchange like us to do a very solid KYC, know your customers, and AML, anti-money laundering, right? So I mean, there's definitely KYC is very clear, and anti-money laundering is even more complicated in this case, because when we talk about anti-money laundering in crypto, there will be some challenges because it's on-chain. So the data, the information is not that complete comparing to the banking infrastructure, right? So how you overcome that? So there's a lot of discussion will be there. But I think no doubt, I think the different governments and regulator, in different jurisdictions, they are trying to align with each other to talk about it. And FATA, I think they just released another new report talking about this. Although there's still some challenges for like DeFi, unhosted wallet. But I mean, the direction is very clear. They want to regulate it starting from the centralized platform. And another thing about crypto users, right? I think what happened just a few hours ago, leading to the price drop of crypto market now. I think Biden just signed a bill about infrastructure, right? I think one of the things related to crypto is that they definitely want to tax the crypto, right? So if they are targeting to tax it, they definitely need to understand whether the individual has any trade or position on crypto. So the direction is also very clear, but how to implement this, how to make sure they can calculate your tax correctly, I think that's another challenge. But I think that's super, super clear. So another thing is I just want to talk about a little bit, right? So I think the most important things for the governments to figure out, and an exchange like us to figure out what's the standard for anti-money laundering for crypto. Especially right now, I think a few months ago, U.S. Treasury sanctioned one of the crypto platform in Russia, Swix. Immediately, they also sanctioned a few addresses, involved in money laundering, meaning crypto going through that address and facilitate the money laundering, right? So that's why I think from day one we're using channelizers or the other solutions to deal with the address scanning, let's say, screening, to make sure we don't touch those high risk and sanctioned address. But the problem right now is there's still no standard, right? So no one can tell you this is a database you should use. If you follow this rule, you're good. So I think just want to show you how different that crypto is from the traditional finance or banking industry, and what kind of options or solution is coming up, and but how challenging for us to follow. But we also try to be proactive. So in sum, I think yes, Bitcoin crypto can be regulated, right? So and be honest, to some points, it's actually being regulated already, because if you are not doing KYC right now, you definitely get a lot of pressure from governments for sure. It's just the question is that how to make it more comprehensive, how to make it more clear. And I think that's a problem. Yeah. So how do you eliminate the hidden risk and make sure, as investor, as the industry, stakeholders, we all feel comfortable and also feel, confident about the industry progress. I think that's, so I won't take regulation as a bad thing. I will say regulation is actually something good and helping to shape the industry in a more, healthy way and sustainable way of going forward. Yeah. So personally, when we want to make sure this go mainstream, meaning the market will getting bigger and bigger and grow so fast and big, regulation is the must. That's the only way we can make sure this is something different, like from a government's perspective, regulator perspective, investor perspective. Everyone feel comfortable to keep pushing more resources into. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, and I'm sure the sentiment of our community is the same. Is that for crypto to go mainstream, it shouldn't be a platform for anti-money laundering. That just seems to make sense. For it to deliver the value and utility that it can to the rest of the world, it seems to make sense for it to be regulated. But just to recap what you were saying, what my takeaway from that is that there needs to be a common standard across all governments, because it really is a global decentralized platform.
Yes.
And also the governments are sort of putting pressure back onto the exchanges to level up and upgrade their processes in order to interact with their customers. Yeah,
and actually, I think the whole community, we are working closely with some, like channelizers, or another vendor we're working with for the travel rules. So it's amazing that you can see sometimes we get together. I mean, we from different platforms, but we try to discuss or propose some solution together. about how to solve the problem, right? It's not a norm because you are like we want to solve a problem for the whole industry, although we are competitors. So I think that's how urgent it is right now. As a exchange, as a wallet, or one of the crypto providers, service solution providers, we all work together to make sure that something is feasible. That's the most important thing, right? You don't want to come up with regulations not feasible at all, right? You want it feasible, and still you can keep the innovation going. That balance is what we want to have. So that very active communication and interaction with the governments and regulator is very healthy as well. And hopefully, right, the governments, regulator in different jurisdictions, they can also embrace the same way to make this innovation and industry better and better, and everyone can benefit from that.
Yeah, of course. And I love this sort of, we're on a slight tangent, but bringing the good ethics of crypto, like you said, collaboration, decentralization is at the core of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. So bringing that together so that different firms can collaborate together to move this forward sounds very smart. So then we kind of touched on it already, but what's the actual benefit that me as a regular crypto investor in our community, what benefit are we going to see from a regulated crypto industry?
Yeah, I think as users, right, it helps everyone feel it's a peace of mind, basically, right? Where you buy and sell, hold with your digital asset, with a exchange, a platform, a wallet, whatever. The last thing you want to see is that they are associated with some compliance issue or breaking the laws and got shut down immediately by governments. And when that happens, the same thing, right? In the traditional banking world, if your bank got shut down, your deposit is still stuck there. You won't be able to touch it until maybe years ago after the whole process done, liquidation or whatever, right? So that's the thing, right? So if there's a certain rules, very clear rules, and for your exchange to follow, as long as they are good, you feel comfortable to trade with them, to keep doing that investment with them, right? So that's the peace of mind for the whole thing. And also trying to protect the economy and financial systems, right? So I think what happened, the best example might be stable coins. I think the Treasury is also coming into the picture saying, a stable coin is getting too big to ignore. It's basically a catalyst for the whole crypto industry. So, but you have to make sure that catalyst itself is safe and sound for everyone to use it, right? So the most debatable things for stablecoin is actually the underlying asset. People keep asking whether they have a one-to-one cash behind it, or they are holding some other type of assets that might be more risky. That kind of conversation is, everywhere and for a long time. The only way to solve it is really that if regulator has some rule to say, hey, that's the asset quality you have to meet. As long as you meet that quality, you should be fine, right? They're also talking about including stablecoin into the FDI's the insurance plan as well, right? So all these things will also help people feel comfortable using the stable coins, which is the fundamental thing for the whole industry. So without regulation coming in, it's just debate, right? It's your opinion, my opinion, but that's just opinions. No, if there's no standard, it's just personal opinion. Everyone's right to some extent, different angles, right? We all, I think so. I respect all of them, but I think the bottom line is that, so what's required by the law, back to the framework, right? So we are actually very happy to see governments coming into the picture and then talking about it, like stablecoin, how to regulate it. And so I don't think we need to debate whether USDT or USDC, which one is safer in the future. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if there's a benchmark and everyone follow that, I think we're all good, right? And the same thing, right? The reason why they changed the cash to the other assets is because that funding that stable coin, the team also need to make money, right? Commercially sustainable is important for innovation, right? So the balance, another thing. If you squeeze it, say, hey, you have to be super safe, meaning you can only earn the interest from the cash you put in the bank as the collateral. That means minimum. Right now, interest rate is so low. But if they allow them to transfer some of them into like T-bill, right, super safe, government rating, maybe, okay, the U.S. government, if nothing happened to the U.S. government rating, and still fine interest rate, right, much better. If you earn 1% on top of, they are around like 70 billion right now. Still good revenue for them to keep the team going, keep the innovation going, right? And that balance at the end of the day, still the same, how to balance the innovation and the control. So.
Well, we'll come on to T-bills in a second, because I think I'd love to talk a little bit for our audience about the practical benefits of investing in crypto. But just before you do, I know your backgrounds, you were at Citi, you're at Standard Chartered, I know your background's in banking. What does the world look like if crypto is regulated for the future of banking?
Yeah, I think, cryptocurrency and digital asset definitely offers a huge space for the financial service or financial service innovation to prosper, to grow. That's for sure, right? So that's why you can see that, we used to have, now we have like 75 million users of Bitcoin and 3 million, around 3 million, used in seven years ago, right? And then it's getting so fast and so big because it offers so many possibilities for the innovation. But now, it's the moment for normalization to make sure whatever is just too much has to come by a little bit, right? For example, derivative leverage 100 times. Yeah, no one forced the guy to click they want to do 100 times leverage, but still, is that a really right product to offer? You can debate. I mean, not saying any one is right or wrong, but just looking back, right? So that's something definitely, people will look into it, right? So I think crypto is going so fast and so ahead right now. But I believe the traditional financial industry or system is playing a catch up right now. You can see now you got banks doing the exchange for crypto, doing custodian for crypto. And actually, to my knowledge, right, a lot of global banks, they're also partnering with the big tech company to also look into the solution, or central banks looking at CBDC, how to make sure the payment solutions actually can benefit from this blockchain technology. So those all the innovation happening in crypto now is merging itself into the traditional financial service industry now. You can see that, right? So, and another key reason is the upside. I would say the upside of the crypto economy is just so huge, right? So, if the bank doesn't catch up, that will be very, very, very damaging for their business, right? So imagine right now, we are paying a negative interest rate in euro for our euro deposit at the moment. But we can offer our users a very nice interest rate, like around 12% APY, as you mentioned, right? So it's very easy for people to understand that where they have to choose. So if the bank doesn't catch up, right, that shift. Imagine if the crypto industry got more regulated, better reputation, something more certain coming up, and the interest rate difference still so huge. People will choose. They will vote with their feet. That's it, right? That's it.
I have to say, we did some research I had some new research come in this morning that that went out very recently, that over 70% of people who read Finimize have invested in crypto. Now, a year ago, that was more like 20%. So it's just insane. And we've got 1 million subscribers. So it's just been insane, the adoption. Now, I just want to make sure that we have enough time for questions. I've got two more for you. One, if we were just talking about inflations and interest rates available. Can you do your best job at summarizing why crypto could be a good hedge against inflation?
Yeah, I think there's two things, right? So that's just like BTC. BTC, I think, is almost like a value storage vehicle for me. Right? People say, how you justify the value, right? The same thing I can tell you, the gold, the physical gold. 90% of the gold is actually in the banking vault. No one is really using it. 10% is using for industrial purpose, right? So, but why there's still a price? I mean, normally we don't use gold in our daily life, right? So it's a consensus of the market. And this is already too big to return. It's 1.something trillion already, right? It's big enough. I mean, comparing to gold is that not huge, but it's already big enough for everyone to use as storage. And you got governments in it, you got corporate in it. Don't even mention, right, a lot of individuals. You got, Panama, right? You got El Salvador, you got Ukraine, you so many. And you can see what happened. Those governments also want to hedge themselves. Looking at their balance sheets, right? They want to make sure they are not just using US dollar, euro, which is controlled by the other central bank. They want to go for something they believe is decentralized, is a consensus of the community to hedge themselves a little bit. I mean, no one is going to do 100% of Bitcoin either, right? But the combination telling you the role of BTC is really against the hedge, against inflation. How you hedge yourself when the inflation is picking up so quickly. For U.S. government, 6.2%. That's, you only see that kind of number during the oil prices. Yeah. So that's the era we are in right now, right? Another thing is that for ETH, right, Ethereum is actually a reflection of how popular and active the Ethereum chain is right now. So that also tells you how many applications running on crypto, running on blockchain to solve the real world, physical world problem right now. So that also telling you that's the industry's indicator, the future indicator, right? It's getting bigger and bigger and more popular and more popular. So just to take these two as example, and that's why you should definitely look into it, right? And I mean, so I know some people still feel like, oh, but BTC and ETH is so volatile. What else we can do, right? So that's why I think we offer something high yield on stable coin. So the concept is very easy. Some people still want to trade and they want to borrow money to trade. They don't want to sell their BTC. They don't want to sell their ETH. They collateralize those assets with a platform, DeFi most likely, and borrow some USDT out to buy something else. So they are earning maybe crazy amount of money, or they can lose as well, but they have a collateral there, right, to protect the principal and the interest of the lending. So what we are offering is that we are doing those things, and we are moving those deposits to the other side to lend to those users and get a decent return and pass back to our users. So that's how it works in a nutshell. So how we choose the project is the thing.
I know you had a slide, so I'm very conscious that we want to get to our Q&A because there's so many questions. Sure. It's going to be awesome. I know you had a slide, so maybe just finish on, tell us what Cabital is and why you think Finimizers would benefit from using it, and I'll try and share this slide for you.
Sure.
Here we go.
Yeah. I mean, basically, when you invest with us, right, it's not secret. There's a lot of platform out there, but different things that we invest in the DeFi we choose, low risk, collateralized, or fee-based. That's the DeFi project we choose. And we do approve each of them, look into the smart contract, make sure the audits there is solid. We don't do spot trade. We don't do derivative trade. We don't trade our users' deposit because we know that's not something they're after. If they want to go for something that they can trade themselves and enjoy the volatility, right? They're here for something stable. And we don't buy anything to any interest rate to the platform token. We don't do platform token because we believe that platform token is very volatile. If people are looking for something stable, yield type of products, doesn't make sense for us to combine something, bundle something very contradict in the conversation. So what you see is what you get. That's what we do. And on the back, it's always about DeFi. We have a team looking to different DeFi projects and analyze this to make sure we go for the ones that fit into our profile. And we have a committee to approve whether we can invest in or not from different angles, finance, legal, compliance, product, operation as well. So that's how we make sure we are something sensible, to our users. So that's a summary version, very quick, sorry.
That's so exciting. I mean, I used to work in wealth management and, there's so much opportunity in the space, but just to wrap it all up and move into the user questions, it has to be regulated really for this to take to the mainstream. Now, community, jump into the Q&A box and start upvoting because we're tight on time. We've got 6 minutes and we're going to get through as many of your questions live with Raymond as possible. So if you're on your phone, it's at the bottom of your screen, hit Q&A and just start liking the questions that you want to see answered. I'm going to start at the top. So the first from LCS, who's surprisingly concerned about anonymity with a username like that. Which of the private coins that provide real anonymity, not just confidentiality, do you think will survive government regulations that want to outlaw them?
Yeah, I think it depends on how, to be honest, I think alignment between the government will be the key. If all the government align, right? Very ideal scenario, which I don't think will happen. If all aligns and they also have a standard, consistent standard across the borders for a centralized platform, I think there will be no coins will be able to skip. But the fact is that it's difficult for all the government to have an agreement. See what happened in the COP26, right? For the climate discussion. I mean, it's difficult to have alignment, to be honest. So I think there will be some, but which of them, not sure. You got 7,000, 8,000 coins right now. I mean, it's difficult for every single of them, to get covered by regulators. Yeah, but depends on you. That also means for those that not covered by the government in the future, the risk is even higher, right? There's only a reason why they are not going to be covered. So I think that will be a natural way for people to choose and select and filter out what should be there, what shouldn't be there at the end of the day. Yeah.
That was a very good answer to a difficult question. Nice work, Raymond. Tina, what's the best passive investment approach in crypto from your opinion, and which compliant platforms would you recommend?
Yeah. Of course, we recommend ourselves for sure. Yeah, we have Euro SEPA Live, we have GBP Fast Payment Live. So if you're in the EU zone, it's very easy for you to top up your fiat money and buy the Bitcoins, the big ones, big BTC, TH, and USDT, and then you can put it there. There's no best because everyone has different risk appetite, right? So maybe I can share you my approach. Yeah. So I basically put USDT in a high yield, and then I do dollar cost averaging on a weekly basis on BTC and ETH. Basically, I don't even look at price. I just buy a fixed amount every Thursday. That's it. And the reason is that I believe the industry is going that direction at the end of the day, right? So, and it's very volatile. So I'm not like super trader. I don't do quant trade. And no one knows that Biden is going to sign this bill this morning, right? So the only thing you can do is like just keep doing the dollar cost average to even out the market risks along the way, and make sure you still enjoy that trend from that asset class in the long term. Yeah, so that's my suggestion. I think that's something very easy, and everyone can do it, and you can do it wherever you can start it. Right?
All right, I'm going to jump to Sachin's question. What's the best place, in your opinion, to get an understanding of the basic fundamentals for crypto investments, like platforms, wallets, security projects, etc.?
Yeah, I think there are so many of them. But there's something you can start with is our blog. I think our blog, we managed to have a lot of content about 101, about stablecoin. There's something very basic, but I think it's very important. And since we are, from day one, we know we are targeting the users that who are not investing in crypto but wants to give it a try. So we try to take that angle when we prepare all the contents. Yeah, so I think it's very easy for you to start with. But having said that, right, there's still a lot of nice contents on the internet, YouTube. I think YouTube is something you definitely want to look around. But definitely go for the ones not just asking to trade and speculate all the time. Go for something that give you the fundamental knowledge so you can make an informed decision when you want to deal with your own investment. So that would be my suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And a +1 on accolades, shout out for Binance Academy's content. It's very, very good and digestible to new investors. I'm going to finish on Rob's question. What is the use or utility of the anonymity if it isn't for tax avoidance or trying to hide from attention?
I think at the beginning it's all about, there's a lot of money laundering, right? So when this industry starts. Right, so that's the utility of the anonymity. To be honest, tax is one thing, right? Tax is even more complicated. Let me tell you why tax is complicated for crypto. If you buy BTC here, 64,000, and you change that to the other platform, you sell at 63,000. You're losing money. But how the tax authority are able to combine those two information and say, hey, you make $1,000 loss, right? That's difficult. When you are trading with your security house right now, you have the cost. You have the price. You know how much money you make, and that information is very clear and easy to to get together and to calculate, right? P&L. And sometimes you move to your unhosted wallet for a while and move it out. That's even more complicated use case when they want to calculate the tax. So I don't know how the tax will be dealt with, but yes, of course, tax will be one thing. People can move money out of the border without going through the banking system. That's a reason. So I think the utility of that is most likely for tax is one reason. Another one will be money laundering. And I think that's also the reason why regulator has to come in at this point of time when it's getting too big and risking the whole financial system. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we've smashed it. It's past exactly 30 minutes of gold dust for everyone there. Thank you so much, Raymond, and make sure you check out Cabital after this, guys. I've dropped the link in the chat. We'd love to have you back. Lovely to see your community.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Enjoy. Bye.